county and it's not by the state. So it's very challenging to be trying to enforce some things that doesn't belong to the county or to the state. Now, the housing issue, I know that mobile home parks can fall under some of the housing issues. Like I said, I work with elderly doing that in regards to that. But you brought up good points, they're valid. But they don't fit in the purview in regards to the charter and how to resolve those issues. Those are something that we can do via the legislator or we can do with the state or whatever, but not at the charter level. So thank you so much.
And I believe that concludes discussion. So thank you, everyone. We will move C27 on to second reading next week. Thank you all. That takes us to C30. Sheriff Ombuds carried over from May 18th on page 75 of the packet. Vice Chair Lenz.
I'd like to move to amend C30 as is shown on page 78 of the packet.
Madam Chair, I'm not quite sure if can maybe you pass the mic to Commissioner Lance?
I had roofed mic for a while, I guess it's gone.
It's okay. Maybe I'm the only one complaining, but sorry.
No, I appreciate you letting us know because in the room we have no way of knowing. So thank you.
There's also a really awesome echo that's going on when sometimes. It's cool.
All right, how's that?
Great.
Okay, I move to amend C30 as is shown on page 78 of the packet. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to strengthen certain language surrounding this amendment or this amendment proposal as is shown in the highlights. If you're looking at your packet, if you have a printed copy, I think it turns out shows a shaded gray. It's to add some additional language to proposed section 2 to clarify that the Department of Sheriff will fully cooperate fully and in good faith with subpoenas and other requests from the ombuds, and that when the ombuds is seeking records, witnesses, and information, it is given the same deference as would a law enforcement or criminal justice agency, and they're able to get that, the OMSPED is able to get that information not subject to the procedures or exemptions contained in the Public Records Act. Clarifies that the OMSPED's findings that they would publish are findings of fact, that those occur at the end of their investigation, and that they shall refer complaints to appropriate other authorities. In section 3, it proposes to replace the council representative on the nomination panel and replace it with the sheriff. That I think was an oversight. The council ultimately appoints the ombudsmen. It seems much more fair to let the sheriff have a role in choosing the nomination, on the nomination committee to choose the proposed ombudsman that's approved by the council. And then finally, in section 4A, just being more clear about the experience that the qualified candidate for ombudsman should have, and again clarifying that the findings that the sheriff, that the ombudsman makes are findings of fact.
All right, so I have a motion to.
Second.
All right. Commissioner Layton, did you have?
You said second.
Oh,
No, I was seconding.
all right, so we have a motion to amend C30 in the fashion that Vice Chair Lenz stated. Discussion on that amendment.
Can I speak to the motion?
Of course.
I think I spoke to it a little bit already. I gave some of the rationale. I guess I'm just going to say that if you're not supportive of this overall proposal to add the sheriff ombudsman, I don't think it's likely that the amendment would be supported. But for those who do support this proposal, it's my opinion that adding the proposed additions make it a better proposal and gives the ombudsman more strength and ability to do the job that this proposal asks for them to do. That's my drop.
All right, so discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, we will move to vote on the amendment, solely on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment as Vice Chair Lentz read it and is in your packet? Count 15. All opposed? I count 2. And then abstentions. I count 4. All right, so that amendment passes. So now on to discussing C30 as amended. Any discussion? Commissioner Gann?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Gann. When we first introduced this, it's like my computer's gonna die. There was a question around why do we not need an ombuds in general, and I did some research around that, so I wanted to report back on what the other investigation-related functions in county government currently are and the need for them and capacity. As of
Commissioner Boyd's trying to problem solve over here with the power.
May 1st, 2026, the Office of Independent Investigations began work in Pierce County. That's a statewide organization that's been scaling up across the state. Their scope is limited to only law enforcement incidents resulting in a fatality. It is likely that their work would be duplicative of an ombuds office and would not also require ombuds involvement, but obviously this is a very limited scope. The Ethics Commission only addresses violations of the Ethics Code, which pertains to all county officials. The county cannot seem to give me a clear answer about how many relevant complaints they receive per year, but I did get some advice from the DPA that it's about 2 per year, so not a lot. Complaints not in the jurisdiction of the Ethics Commission, we of course have the Council of the Executive's Office for citizens public to make complaints to, and the authority to pursue investigations, relay those concerns to the relevant county departments, and ask the departments to respond back to them or back to the constituent directly. The Sheriff's Office does have a complaint form and a compliment form on the county website. I haven't gotten information as to how many complaints they receive per year, but obviously those complaints go through an internal investigation process, so the purpose of this function is really to partner with community and with the citizens who are protected by law enforcement and utilizing those services as the end user of those policies and programs to be able to participate in informing continuous quality improvement. One example in looking at the Community Police Advisory Committee in the City of Tacoma is that the Chief of Police actually works with them. They request them to review new policies, they request them to review training to get community input on those items. So I really see this as partnership and building trust. Thank you.
Commissioner Waleski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I believe that it should be some type of public partnership in this here, but my problem is the language. My concern is the overlapping of who has the authority to do what. I really don't like the idea of an outside element to have that type of, I won't say control, but access to do some type of investigation, no matter what level it may be. From there, I really believe that that should belong to the infrastructure that already exists to do that. You gave a good example in regards to the Tacoma side of the house. If it was implemented something similar to that, that would be fine with me. But my concern is that where does the borderline drawn in regards to investigation into ethics, corruptions, bribery, elections? You know, those things are kind of concerning for me. I can see that it's a little bit too far for me to accept. I really think that the organization already exists that are able to do these things should be able to do that. If we want public transparency, then something similar to what you just brought up that's happening at the Tacoma Department, I think is something that we should look into more. Thank you.
Commissioner Rogie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rogie, District 3. And I too come prepared because with notes and don't apologize for it because that's how I can communicate my message. I oppose C30 in the charter review process. While proponents may frame this as a modest improvement to county government, public safety, or structural efficiency, it risks an alteration of proven democratic mechanisms without being effective or having any authority. It's misleading because it doesn't actually accomplish any effective goal. Pierce County already has and maintains effective checks and balances through elected officials, budgetary controls, and multiple active committees and commissions dedicated to law enforcement and public safety. Our county government is designed with separation of powers and voter oversight in mind. The sheriff is elected by the people, a choice voters reaffirmed, and seen the majority of comments come in favor of an elected sheriff. We have the Public Safety Committee of the County Council that meets regularly and has explicit responsibility for matters including the Office of the Sheriff, Corrections, Criminal Justice, Emergency Preparedness, Courts, Prosecuting Attorney, and broader public safety issues. IT reviews policies, budgets, and performance directly. Law and Justice Review Committees established by the council in I think I wrote 2020, sorry, my handwriting sometimes is out of control. R 2020-43 and 76. 14-member citizen committee reviewed policies and procedures and best practices across the Sheriff's Department, Corrections, Assigned Counsel, Medical Examiner, and related justice functions. It delivered a formal report to the council demonstrating community input into law enforcement. You can report directly to the Sheriff's Office. There's also a board of professional standards, internal affairs processes, state certification, public records transparency. Recent budget processes have further tied public safety to performance advisory input such as the Unified Safety Task Force. You can also contact the executive director or Pierce County Council. These committees already deliver independent reviews. Voters evaluate a candidate's performance every 4 years at the ballot box. This seems like yet another attempt to give an appointed board authority over the sheriff. As it is, ombuds don't have the authority or accountability for the sheriff as it claims. It seems to add another layer of bureaucracy that we don't need. Even more concerning is the attempt to elevate this group to the same level as law enforcement and exempting them from the Public Records Act. This is completely unacceptable and will be a no from me. There is already a Pierce County that may have been eliminated, and if it was eliminated, my apologies. I don't know if that was eliminated in your amendment or not, but I did not like that portion, so I had to call it out. There is already a Pierce County Internal Affairs Department. It seems like this is an attempt to give the executive authority over the sheriff through an appointed board who are not necessarily versed in how to conduct an investigation, but will have executive representation. And I noticed council representation was removed. This is not a separation of powers or independent board. It is an attempt at a local SB 5974 and to have control over another elected official, and I will not support it. Thank you.
All right, any additional discussion? Commissioner Willis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, state voter, it is warm. Commissioner Willis, District 3, I'd be lying to myself and everybody on the board. The reason why I did not vote on the amendments or this amendment is because the constituents of my district voted me into this position solely and pretty specifically on this issue that I ran, that I believe sheriff should be elected, and I believe that ombuds, while the intent is there, and I can appreciate that, to have oversight, that the constituents in my district believe they are the oversight and that their voice matters, and this would diminish their voice. So it's a hard no for me, but I did want to just at least say that.
Commissioner Heatherington?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Etherington, District 2. And it's been a long time since we had, I think it's already in the hopper, the issue on the Juvenile Detention Center. I do like a layer of oversight when it comes to issues like the sheriff, but I also identify that there's there's a problem with the juvenile detention center, and wondering if this amendment and that amendment overlap, or if there's something, other counties have created an Office of Inspector General that can oversee both the Sheriff's Department and Pierce County has oversight over the juvenile detention center. So maybe it's something where we can cover a couple things here and do good level things. Just some thoughts.
Commissioner Herrera.
Commissioner Herrera, District 2. So while the intent behind establishing an independent sheriff ombuds office is to enhance oversight and accountability, I oppose this proposal for several key reasons. First, Pierce County does not currently face the same severe issues with law enforcement misconduct that have been seen in other jurisdictions, such as Seattle or other places. Where federal intervention was required due to systemic problems, our Sheriff's Department operates under existing procedures and oversight mechanisms that have proven effective in maintaining accountability. Second, the creation of a new independent ombuds office duplicates oversight functions already performed by current internal and external review processes. The Sheriff's Department is subject to establish complaint procedures, internal affairs investigations, and oversight by the county council and other bodies. Adding another layer of oversight risks inefficiency, increased bureaucracy, and potential conflicts between oversight entities. Third, the proposal grants the ombuds broad investigative powers, including subpoena authority, which raises concerns about due process, potential overreach, and the proper balance of powers. These powers, without careful and clear limitations, could interfere with ongoing investigations and operations within the Sheriff's Department. Finally, the creation of a community advisory committee and the appointment process for the ombuds introduces political elements that may compromise the independence and effectiveness of oversight. Ensuring accountability is vital, but it must be balanced with preserving the operational integrity and morale of law enforcement personnel who serve our community daily. In summary, Pierce County currently has appropriate oversight measures in place for the Sheriff's Department. This proposal addresses problems that do not exist here and risks creating unnecessary complications and inefficiencies. Again, I view this as another jab at removing the sheriff and just being attached to that proposal. I don't think it's going to fly with the voters. As we've heard, most of the voices prefer to keep our sheriff elected, no matter who it is. For these reasons, I will be voting to reject this proposal. Thank you.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly.
Thank you, Commissioner Rydell Kelly, District 4. I've spoken a lot about the housing justice work I do, but I've also been involved with very significant criminal legal reform throughout the region for the last 7 years. And I can say that one thing I've learned is that we should always be pushing for more accountability and transparency in criminal legal systems, whether it's policing or sheriffs or jailing systems or reentry, because it is a very complicated system, and when you get it involved with electoral politics in particular, like the sheriff's office, the incentive structure for politics is very different than the incentive structure from an appointed role in a given municipality or bureaucracy. My concern with it is that it doesn't go far enough, and that we need more accountability and oversight. And I think that is incredibly distinct and important from internal affairs or internal monitoring structures that happen within criminal legal institutions. And one of the main reasons that so many municipalities and so many counties have moved to different types of oversight models of varying degree and varying enforcement over the last couple of decades. I would also note that on top of the widely discussed issues with our current sheriff, which are quite controversial and exposing the county to litigation, in the last 2 years alone, there have been multiple very tragic and officer-involved shootings that have had very complicated circumstances that have led to lawsuits against the county. There are currently major news items about sheriff deputies involved in domestic disputes, drug rings, hit and runs, all sorts of other things, and that to some degree or another, for whatever reason, our sheriff has decided to make public comments about, that have indicated that there's some difficulty and problems with the internal monitoring process. These are active, ongoing things that are in the news. So I just want to highlight that is, that we shouldn't, it's to say there aren't problems is a misunderstanding of the situation, in my opinion. Let's say I'll be generous with the characterization. And this is not a perfect solution, but it's something that I think is important to consider. And I would expect that some folks that care deeply about the elected sheriff position would be supportive of this as an alternative to an appointed sheriff position. So I would encourage folks on the commission to think that through. Like, if you don't support the other, you should probably support this because you want to, it's not that voters just want an elected sheriff. They also want accountability. They also want, where do they fall on that issue? Most people want to know they can have trust with the people that are running public safety for them. And I think that's true of voters of all political persuasions.
Commissioner Layton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Layton, District 7. Just speaking to a couple of things. I'm happy to look at the juvenile detention amendment to see if there is an opportunity here. Where I pause caution is that the juvenile detention is overseen by the court system, and it's a bit of a different animal when it comes to the different branches of government. But I'm willing to look at that with my fellow commissioners sponsoring that to see if there's an opportunity, but I just want to make sure we're clear that it is a different branch of government under the judicial system that the juvenile detention is overseen. So I don't want to make sure that we're kind of mixing where it might cause problems. With that said, the overarching proposal here is a good proposal. I don't understand the problem with oversight and accountability. We have this in different areas of the different levels of government. The state auditor has oversight over several of our local governments. The Justice Department has oversight over our federal government. We have this in every area of our governmental system. And frankly, when it comes to public safety, we do certainly want to make sure that we're using the use of force and how we are having our public safety folks out there having the utmost oversight that we can. So I highly encourage our commissioners to support this proposal. There certainly will be opportunities to tweak it as we move forward, as we have done with many proposals moving forward, as we get closer to the hopper and final proposal. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
I think that would be your second.
Got it. Commissioner Surratt, District 5. I really admire this proposal, which I hope that would be the case as a co-sponsor of it. I do come from a family of multiple generations of law enforcement, including in the state right now, and as far away as Newark, New Jersey. And I would say that this proposal is not an attack on the Sheriff's Department or policing in general, but certainly a natural complement to it. Strong policing depends on public trust. It depends on accountability, and it depends on continuous improvement. What this will do is create new oversight with the county to identify issues early, strengthen transparency, and support deputies who perform their duties honorably. It reinforces confidence in Pierce County policing. In that sense, an ombuds function being added to the charter is a natural component of modern policing. I also want to stress that there is optics to consider. There is, I think, an erosion of trust amongst some. And I think this could be a really good tool to address that in a transparent and coherent way. Additionally, what I think is really excellent about this proposal is that it requires a qualified ombuds to fulfill that role, to hold that role. And the sheriff department will be a major contributor to who is occupying that role. And that's important, because we don't want just anybody who is investigating policing claims that are sourced from the public. I want to stress that this is an ombuds function. These are concerns that are sourced from the public. So having somebody who's qualified who can speak about these issues, about policing, about these types of investigations, will allow the sheriff department to function properly and dismiss uncredible claims and also investigate credible ones. And I want to end by stating that during our in-district meetings for District 5, routinely people requested more accountability from their elected officials. And this aims to accomplish that. And in some ways, I think we're framing this debate improperly, because some of these investigations might be to the benefit of the sheriff's department, because people have concerns about what the sheriff and his deputies are doing or not doing. And an ombudsman could make the case as to why the sheriff is following policy properly and that these claims of improper conduct have no merit. So oversight that is independent of the sheriff's department itself is a good addition to the county charter. And I think it'll be a good tool to have accountability for the department and its deputies.
Commissioner Gill.
Thank you, Commissioner Ginn, District 4. I just wanted to point out, it sounds like maybe in terms of the gaps in the current county structure, we do not have any sort of commission or board related to public safety. The Public Safety Committee is the county council members, the portion of them who make up the Public Safety Committee, but in terms of citizens and community, to me that's a gap, and that's why I assume why in May 2023, the council in the ordinance that was sponsored by council members Morrell, Kruger, and Pereira, they attempted to create a civilian review board for this very purpose. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know why it didn't pass. But I do have the packet around that meeting and the ordinance draft that didn't pass, if anyone would like to see it. And it notes that the purpose of that civilian review board is because it is in the public interest for the residents of the county to have an independent mechanism to fairly review complaints and investigations concerning law enforcement conduct. So I feel like they tried to do this before. I think adding in the community advisory committee as part of this proposal to me is an essential component to make sure residents have input and residents continue to have input into the structure of any ombuds office so that it truly is an oversight body that's being responsive to public concerns. Thank you.
Commissioner Woloski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, again, I think that's a pretty decent idea. If you do have a copy of that, please email it out. All right, and that would help me also to obtain more clarity. Thank you.
Seeing no additional discussion, that wraps up our conversation around C30 for tonight. Thank
Madam
you.
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Lee.
I mean, given that we only have 8 minutes and taking up another topic would be laborious, I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
I have a second. So any discussion about adjournment? We will pick up right where we're finished with C30, so we'll pick up at C24.
Well, actually, we're not leaving in the middle of something. We've concluded debate on this first
There you
reading.
go.
So that the chair and the vice chair, we reserve the right to present an agenda that maybe doesn't pick up exactly where we left off in service of trying to group things together logically to move them toward
Sounds great.
the finish line.
So C30 moving forward.
So C30, we'll go on to second reading, is where we're at right now. All right.
Yeah,
so-
we finished that, correct?
Yes.
Correct, it is done.
Yeah, that's why I moved to adjourn before we pick up another topic.
All
Thank
those
you.
in favor?
All right, so all in favor of Commissioner Siswell?
So for next week, since we have a, thank you, Commissioner. Sorry,
It is late.
Commissioner the special meeting. So the first reading, let's say my proposal, would it also go to second reading on Wednesday?
So it very well could, yes, if we have the agenda, if we get to it, we have the agenda arranged in that way. Yeah, because yes, we will be meeting on Monday and then Wednesday, and then on and on. All right, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Meeting adjourned.
We said if commissioners could still be seated while they are voting.
Just made the point.
Thank you,
Wow.
Commissioner
Great, great, Sharon. I mean, come on. That was pretty good. Yeah.